We are live. All right. It is Sunday, uh, May the 31st, the last day of May, ladies and gentlemen. This is Coffee with Frankie. This is the coffee. Delicious coffee. I am the Frankie. And before we get going on the show, let's listen to a little Frankie from Flatbush theme song.
Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustling dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a confident grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go.
Let's say hello to the chat. Let's get rid of this. Over here, it's Sunday morning. Flatbush Dre is here. We also got Ozzy over here. We got Adams. Audio visual 3 theme 100%, but the bell is gone. Yeah, it's the weirdest thing with this microphone setup. Here's my microphone right here. And you can hear my voice. But if I start playing this harmonica, you won't hear the harmonica. Watch. And why is that? It's a microphone. You would think that it would pick up any noise in its general vicinity. But technology. What are you going to do, Phil? Madison's here. Joe Mike is here. Joe Mike is a member of the Inner Circle. You could be a member of the Inner Circle, too, if only you would click the join button. Down below, $2 a month gets you some of the best extras in the game. Nobody puts out extras like me. They really. And just ask anyone in there. They'll tell you the same thing. All right, we do have a new column that was just published by ESPN's Rich Samini. Been in the game a long time. Maybe it's time for retirement for old Rich, but We'll take a look at that. Striker's here. Also a member of the Inner Circle. You could hang out with old Striker over here. And not to mention, Phil Adams. Also a member of the Inner Circle. We got one toot. Yeah, why does it capture one toot, but then the rest of the tooting doesn't capture it? Your guess is as good as mine. We're recording into OBS software. That's how we're doing this live stream. We don't have to pay those bums at the SAS companies anymore. OBS is free. Now, maybe because it's free, you don't get the full suite of functionality of something that you got to pay money for, but at the same time, it's pretty close. Pretty close. All right, so look, we got this. There's not a lot of Jet news going on right now. It's a dull part of the off season now. Tomorrow, however, is June 1st, and that is an important day for several reasons. The contracts, mostly in the NFL, once June 1st rolls around, the team has already paid a certain amount for the previous year, and now if you get rid of the guy, you pay less in dead cap. So there's anticipated to be some movement around after tomorrow, with the big one, of course, being A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is almost certainly going to the Patriots, so that affects us in terms of our competition. But I'm very interested to see what the trade is. The rumors are that it's a first-round pick that the Eagles want back. And then there's another rumor, or report actually, that says, well, they want a first-round pick, but they maybe will take a 2028 first-round pick. I think it'd be interesting if the Patriots traded away their 27 first-round pick to the NFC. That would probably be good for us, although it'd make it harder to beat the Patriots, obviously, if they have A.J. Brown. But at the same time, if they give away their 27 first-rounder in a year when we have 3, that gets a little interesting, doesn't it? And A.J. Brown, of course, now 28, 29 or so years old and, getting close to 30. So how many more years of elite play will he provide? That remains to be seen. So we'll have to see about that. Joe Mike says, hey, that Seth Ryan article, top notch. Well, what he's talking about is chemtrails right here. You may not know it, but old Frankie's also a writer, and I've been writing. I've been writing about the Jets, and I might have some news about further writing projects as we move along, but not today. Something that's gesticulating in my mind. But here we have a new column out today called State of the Jets Union, sort of like a, news summary of all the things that happened this week. But what Joe Mike's referring to is right here, simply the Seth. Better than all the Beths is what I called it. Jets coaching profile, passing game coordinator Seth Ryan. All about this man right here. You may not know much about Seth Ryan. Well, this article tells you all about it. Well, what about making tight end sexy again? Because after all, there's a movement in the NFL for 13, maybe even 14 personnel. What does that mean? What does it mean to us? What's going on? Well, I explain it all in this column. For whom the Ben bowls? What about this Jets coaching profile, Benjamin Bowling? You might not know what's he all about. What's Demario Davis going to do with this guy? Well, I lay it all out. The media finally changing their tune on the Jets. Here's old Colin Clownherd in the picture over here. What about Cade Klubnik? Overlooked gem or overhyped bum? And all sorts of columns and things. And there's also a podcast. And you could get it totally for free by going to frankiefromflatbush.substack.com. You can give money if you want, if you got some extra. But if you sign up for the free version, you're getting everything on the site, at least right now. So sign up for the free version and you get it all. It comes right into your inbox, no matter where you are in the world. You could be in England like Phil Adams. You could be in New Zealand like Braden. You could be somewhere else. Sometimes, look at this podcast here. We got this going on. But, if you even were to look at the podcast stats, there's people listening to the podcast in Sweden and Japan and all these places. Like, what? Who's listening to me in Japan? I don't know, but I appreciate them. Tell you that much. Appreciate you, Japan. I love Japan. Japan is awesome. Konnichiwa, everybody. But yeah, this is what Joe Mike's talking about. Some of the best Jets writing out there from yours truly, published novelist. One of my many things I did before, in previous lives. And now I'm using some of that writing talent to write up this column here. It's called Chemtrails, Frankie from Flatbush.substack.com. You can get it. It's nice and easy. Flatbush Dre, go Knickerbockers. Yeah, we got these Knickies. They are in the finals, the NBA finals. Can you believe it? It's starting on Wednesday. They got to play that alien freak, Victor Wembanyama. Ooh, he's a tough one. Now, if you watch Wembanyama play, that is a freaky. That guy is weird looking, man. Looks like freaking Plastic Man. What a weird looking human, but he's good at basketball, so that's going to be a challenge. But should be a fun finals. The Knicks made it to the finals, and if anything, it should be very inspirational for our Jets, because don't forget, the Knickies are owned by who? James Dolan. And everybody hates James Dolan, and rightly so. But, because he's sort of like Woody Johnson in a lot of ways. Nepo baby, rich fucker from the day he was born, right? So everybody hates his guts. Rightly so. But he hired the right GM, and then the GM put the right pieces in place and then replaced the coach. And now, bada bing, bada boom, here we are in the finals. And so maybe there's hope yet for Woody Johnson is the thinking as far as the Jets are concerned. So we'll be watching the Knickies. That starts on Wednesday, I think. And, look, we could have a championship in New York. I know all the big Knick fans. I'm not really a big Knick fan. I enjoy watching sometimes. I enjoy Jalen Brunson. He's pretty awesome to watch. But the big time Knick fans, of course, very excited, very, in a state of bliss. Can you imagine Jet fans in a similar state of bliss? My goodness, man. My goodness. Joe Mike says, Frankie, can you imagine if the Jets hired a GM on May 30th like the Vikings did? Media would be bashing our organization. Well, we did something similar. You may remember, Joe Mike. That's how we hired Joe Douglas. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the date was when we hired Joe Douglas, but we let McCagg Dum-Dum go through the draft, I think it was, in 2018, right? And then 2019, and then we hired Joe Douglas. Am I remembering correctly? Well, I know we hired Joe Douglas at an off-period weird time, so we did do something similar, but yeah, of course, it would be LOL Jets, because the Vikings, even though the Vikings have never won, the Super Bowl, somehow they're more respected than we are. I guess because of the Purple People Eaters. I don't know. Because of Kevin O'Connell. I don't know. Because they made a playoff run recently, I guess. Justin Jefferson. I don't know. But some reason the Vikings are more expected. Now they've had more success in the last 10 years than we have. The other thing I keep saying, Joe, is, the Jets chose a very poor time to have a bad 15-year stretch. There's a lot of teams in the NFL, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Saints, that had long runs of ineptitude. The Buccaneers, they were terrible for decades. But they chose to have those decades before social media and before betting and before fantasy football and before Madden and before all these things, before YouTube, right? So it wasn't this constant, it wasn't the world we live in today. The Jets chose to do this as all these things have become popular, and that is compounded. Just like anything, like if we were good now, the goodness would be compounded, but we chose to be bad. We didn't choose to be bad, but We have been bad the last 15 years, and so that's compounded. And so everything the Jets do is an LOL. I was thinking of something else. Oh, there was a quote from Teasley. His name is, I think, Nolan Teasley. There was a quote. They're talking about, okay, we hired this guy. Somebody found a quote, and he's talking about his superpower. My superpower is this. My superpower is that. Blah, 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 blah. It made me think, and nobody cared. Nobody made any comment about it. But, let Aaron Glenn say the same thing, and they're all up in his business. Oh, my God, a superpower. What is he talking about? So, Aaron Glenn just uses regular language that everybody else uses. And everybody wants to make a big deal out of it because of the LOL Jets of the past 15 years. That's what it is. We got to get this thing turned around. That's what it is. And we will. I'm confident that we will. Phil Adams says, Frankie articles knock old man Dick out of the park. Well, we're going to do a comparison right here because one thing about old Dick Chimney, at least he produces an article. I mean, this is a pretty slow time. So at least he's putting something out. So you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, I think I'm better. But he makes a lot more money than I do. JoJo's here. JoJo says the following. Could be an interesting camp if Klubnik continues to show signs of it falls off here, JoJo. I'm going to think you're talking about signs of improvement. Yeah, it would be, the best outcome would be Cade Klubnik plays really well in camp and wins the QB2 job. That would be phenomenal. Phenomenal. That would be so good. Like, he's impressive, and some fans are saying, hey, he should be QB1. That would be great. Not that he's going to be QB1, but if you have some of the fan base, the less educated kind, saying that, that's great because that means he's passing all the tests, right? And so that would be just phenomenal if he wins the QB2 job. We go into that in the State of the Union column that I wrote today. Let me just check that JoJo didn't get cut off here. No, seems right. All right. So let's check out what Dick Chimney's writing about. I mean, after all, he's writing for ESPN. He makes all this money. He makes tons of money. I think he probably over $1 million a year. And here he is. Look at this man. Does this look like a guy who really enjoys his job? Oh, boy. But he is wearing an ESPN polo. And so, you got to give him that. Company man. For $1 million a year, you get to wear an ESPN polo. So that's something. All right, let's see what he's talking about. Frankly speaking, Garrett Wilson is perhaps the most recognizable name on the roster, a homegrown player who makes the big bucks because he has managed to perform at a high level despite the dreariness around him. He's also not afraid to express his opinion because he's that guy. His words matter. Oh, no, they're gonna kill Garrett. And so it was noteworthy the way he responded to a reporter's question about OC Frank Reich's system, Wilson's fourth different offense in 5 years. It went beyond the obligatory thumbs up. It was a full-throated endorsement. Huh. Honestly, this is probably one of the offenses I'm going to look back on in a few years and love the most, he said. I would put this quote in the doesn't matter category, but got to write about something. Wilson was frustrated at times over his first 4 seasons because of play calling and or quarterback play, including a clash with Aaron Rodgers during the 24 season, and he provides no evidence of the clash. Bad. I would say this is bad journalism. He just says, including a clash. Well, you got to provide evidence of the clash. This is a link to Aaron Rodgers' profile. So like a good reporter would put a link to let's say a report about said clash. He's not a good reporter. Now he has quarterback Geno Smith and Reich, who unlike previous play callers brings NFL experience. That resonates. Then he has another quote. Again, I would put this quote in the he had to say something to answer the question category, but As one veteran scout said of Reich, yeah, one anonymous scout is in the column, everybody. One vet, we don't know if it's a good scout, a bad scout, jet scout, any scout. Just a veteran, maybe he's 100 years old. We don't know because he's anonymous. Frank won't coach you like a robot, he said. Well, that's good because they're human beings. They're not robots. Reich's system encourages receivers to make sight adjustments based on coverage. Oh, boy. See, one of the biggest problems, I think, with these columns is they don't provide any context to things. They just say stuff. Now, is this stuff false? No, this is correct. Reich's system encourages receivers to make sight adjustments based on coverage. This is called the choice route. It's every system in the NFL has choice routes in it. This isn't 1982. These days, you have to have choice routes to adjust in real time to what the defense is doing. Every system has it. But this says Reich's system encourages receivers to make sight adjustments based on coverage, says Dick Chimney, which he's probably getting from the veteran scout who's anonymous. If you're so anxious to put your quote into ESPN, why don't you put your fucking name to it, anonymous scout, dumbass? But that's just me. But anyway, so I'm giving you the full context. Every system in the NFL has choice routes, and there's multiple choices. And when you hear announcers say, "Oh, that was a miscommunication," you ever hear that? Miscommunication between the quarterback and the wide receiver. Well, what that means is the receiver went in, the quarterback thought he was going to go out. Something like that. The receiver went in, the quarterback thought he was going to go up. It's not really a miscommunication. It's just really a misreading, or somebody read it wrong. We don't know who well, sometimes you could tell who read it wrong, but somebody read the defense wrong, or they just read it differently. It's really a misreading, and they weren't on the same page because they read it differently, basically. And then he has another quote. And it sounds simple, but not everybody's like Frank Reich. Sometimes the way it's installed is the way it's going to be run every time. And as a player, you have to get on the train or you're going to get left behind. This guy's more like, we're all on this train together, and if we have to slow down to bring someone along, we're going to bring him along. He's a little different. All right, so this is encouraging. What I would say with this is, can we bring Arian Smith along this time? Can we bring Omar Cooper along, please? We get these receivers. Now, maybe there's some good validity to this. Because if you think about it, we've had receivers that makes no sense why they, with the talent they had, and still have in some cases, why they got left behind. Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, Malachi Corley, and some of these guys, the Jets were thrilled to get in the draft, for example, and then they came here and got forgotten about and couldn't get on the train, I guess. So maybe this is what he's talking about, and the evidence will be how fast does Omar Cooper get up to speed, and can we bring little old Arian Smith along? The guy's fast, he gets open, according to the data. So it's good that he's saying this, but now we would want to see evidence, and the evidence you would want to see is how fast does Omar Cooper get up to speed? Is he a contributor right away? Great. What about Arian Smith? Can he carve out a role here? He's not going to have a big, impact, but can he be that gadget guy? Can he be that one big, bomb down the field per game type player? Hits one big play, per game. Something. So that's good. All right, injury update. The three players who missed significant time last season, Wilson, Braylon Allen, and Azareye'h Thomas, are participating in OTA practices. Wilson's injury was the first of his pro career. Said the time off changed his perspective, whatever this means. The Jets will soon begin construction on a player performance center, which will replace the existing weight room. In the meantime, the Jets will do their weight training in a temporary structure, and it looks good. This new one is going to be 70% larger. So all of you people who say Woody Johnson's a bum, he's paying for all this. And he's doing it because the players told him they needed it. And Woody Johnson has come out and said, listen, whatever the players want and need, all they have to do is ask, and it will be provided. And here's an example. They finally asked for a bigger weight room, and they're getting one. They're getting it 2 floors. Woody will not, Woody has spent a lot of money on this dang team. We just haven't won much. Battle for a QB2. Bailey Zappi took the second team reps, but that doesn't mean he's locked into the number 2 QB job. Coach Aaron Glenn is calling it an open competition between Zappi, Brady Cook, and Cade Klubnik. Ideally, you'd love to have a seasoned backup, but the Jets appear willing to let this play out to see if one of them can seize the opportunity. Well, Zappi is a seasoned backup. He has plenty of experience. It's not good, but he has played games. This says seasoned backup. Zippy Zappy is a seasoned backup, but he's not very good. Failing that, they can scour the league for a veteran in training camp, figuring someone will shake free. It's way too early to draw any conclusions on Klubnik, but he seems to be grasping his progressions and displays accuracy in the short to intermediate areas. He can spin the heck out of the ball, Geno Smith said. So this little sentence right here is good news, because Chimney is at practice when the media is allowed. That's something I can't be, so that's unfortunate. So he's saying he seems to be grasping his progressions and displays accuracy in the short to intermediate areas. So that's based on his eyes. He doesn't tell you this. Again, leaving out context. He should say, based on what I saw at practice, based on OTA number 6, he should tell you how is he drawing this conclusion. So one of the things we're doing now is showing you why Dick Chimney is not a good journalist, aside from just being a shitbird as a human being. But beside that, as a professional writer, a columnist, he should tell you how he knows this. How does he know this? Maybe he just assumes you understand he's at practice, I guess. But he's writing a column for everybody to read that are not just Jet fans. They don't necessarily know that Chimney's at practice. So this should be contextualized based on what I saw in practice. Because this leads you to believe he's seen everything. That's the other thing. He hasn't seen every practice. He's only seen 1 practice, I think, so far, or maybe 2. So what about the other practices? Maybe Klubnik was inaccurate all over the place. Or if he's going to say, well, based on all the practices and the information I'm getting from the Jets, then he needs to source that based on information provided by Jet sources, right? So he doesn't do that. That's bad. That's called bad journalism. This guy, no bueno. Contract update. Rookie receiver Omar Cooper still isn't signed. Oh, well, that's actually something I was curious about. There's no reason to panic. He's one of 13 first-rounders still unsigned. He's participating in OTAs, as is defensive lineman Darrell Jackson Jr., an unsigned 4th-rounder. All right, so we still got 2 guys to sign. I thought they were all signed, so that's kind of interesting. They'll get signed. Don't worry about it. Say uncle. Jackson's uncle is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive back Dexter Jackson, MVP of Super Bowl 37. Jackson expects big things from the nephew. He looks like a superhero, Jackson said. He's 6'5", 337. It's just amazing. I wish I were built like that. If he comes in and learns from those vets, buys into the system, and is willing to improve, I think Jackson Jr. can be a vital piece of that defense. One opposing scout, still anonymous scouting. We're going with these anonymous scouts. Could be his dog, we don't know, who graded Jackson as a 2nd-rounder. All right, so this is a good scout. We like this one. Said he could turn out to be a 4th-round steal. These anonymous scouts, man, they're killing sports reporting. But this one says, hey, I had him as a 2nd-rounder. All right, but are you a good scout or a terrible scout? Are you still employed? Who employs you? How many guys who you graded higher than consensus turned out to be really good? We don't know because, of course, Dick Chimney won't tell us because he's terrible at his job. Cashing in. The 2022 draft class has done quite well for itself. 6 of the 7 picks signed second contracts totaling $322.9 million, led by Wilson, Sauza Gardner, and Brees Hall. The others are Jeremy Ruckert, Max Mitchell, and Michael Clemens, who left as a free agent. Still playing on his rookie contract is Jermaine Johnson, who was traded. Wilson recalled his first conversation with Gardner, Hall, and Johnson, saying how they had big plans, and those plans, to turn around the Jets. That hasn't happened, and now Gardner, Johnson, and Clemens are gone. Wilson lamented their departures, but he hasn't lost hope. It's not failure. It just got delayed. Well, optimism. Lonesome and no more. Tight end Jelani Woods spent last season at the bottom of the roster, appearing in 4 games after being claimed on waivers from the Colts. But now he has a strong supporter in the building. Oh, this is some good information here, which could create more of an opportunity. We're talking about Reich. That's why they chose Woods over Stone Smott. Okay, now we're getting some information. All right. Look, even shitbirds give you good information sometimes. We're talking about Reich, the former Indianapolis head coach who was instrumental in the Colts' decision to draft him. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. On cue, the 6'7" Woods made a couple of flash plays in Thursday's open practice. He can push for a roster spot in a crowded tight end room. This is something I've been thinking about. I mentioned it in a video or two. Woods would be tight end 4, and with this being the case, he's probably locked in here. If Reich really loves him, to be a tight end 4 making no money, with the physical tools he has, if the coach loves you, he's pretty much locked in here. Which means, of course, Andrew Beck is probably going to get cut, but Andrew Beck, I suspect, will make the practice squad and then be called up on a case-by-case basis. So you go to Andrew Beck and you say, Andrew, Mr. Beck, look, we want to keep you, but we don't have room on the 53 man, of course. We're going to keep Woods. You can see why, but of course, we'd still like you to be on the team. So are you willing to sit on the practice squad? And listen, we're going to call you up the maximum amount of time. So you're going to get 3, 4, whatever it is, game checks, big boy checks. You probably, if you go out on the open market, you're probably not going to get that. So they'll probably keep Beck around, and then on a case-by-case basis, maybe Woods 1 week is inactive and other people are inactive, of course. And then we call up Beck to do certain things. So I think with this information, if Reich really is in Woods' corner, unless Woods just falls on his face in camp, which could happen, then he's probably a lock for the roster. And that also means, by the way, lots more 12 personnel, lots more 13 personnel, maybe even 14 personnel, which means you should be reading my column about making tight ends sexy again, because I explain all of that in that article. And if you're going to do that, you need, more backups just in case people get hurt. If you're running 14 personnel, you need 4, tight ends just to get out on the field. But also you just need backups, stuff like that. Even just for, hey, I need a blow. Guy comes out, you need people to come in and still run what you want to run. So that's interesting. Musical kickers. How many will the Jets employ before the season's over? They're up to 4. Cade York, Lenny Krieg, Young Wei, and Will Ferrin waived. Well, I wouldn't say it's musical kickers just yet. I mean, we're trying to find our guy. Maybe it'll be Young Wei. And then, so hopefully it's not musical kickers once the season begins. Geno Smith with the last word. We want to be the best team in the world. I don't feel shy about saying that, but I understand there's a lot of work to be done, said Geno Smith. Old Geno. So that's the chimney column. That's the chimney column. Jersey for Hawk says club. He's in the club. As a solid number 2 QB would be just fine. Yeah, that'd be a great outcome for him. Joe Mike says Jets hired Joe Douglas on June 7th. Okay, so I was close. So it was actually, we did even worse, than, I guess. June. So, but I mean, pretty much the same idea, right? So we already did that. And we got killed. But actually, people at that time were saying, wow, Joe Douglas, he's a great hire. A lot of people were giving us kudos for that because Joe Douglas has a lot of friends in the league and in the media. And so a lot of people were saying this is a great move for the Jets, I think. Country Club Connor, too busy watching Knicks games to write an article, says JoJo. Well, he's not really a writer, for one thing. For another thing, he just had a new baby. So everybody got to congratulate Country Club. Hey, listen, even if we think somebody's a shitbird, you still got to give them kudos and give them applause for expanding the family. Had a nice baby. Can't hold it against the baby. That his daddy is a total shitbird. But nonetheless, new baby. He's on actually paternity leave, I believe. So you're not hearing a lot from Country Club Connor because of new baby in the world. So congratulations on that. But you're also not. I mean, it's a quiet time. You're not seeing a lot out of Zach Rosenblatt or any of these shitbirds. Sluggo's here. Hey, long time no see, Sluggo. It's that time again. Time for what, Sluggo? For you to come back? We haven't seen Sluggo around here in a long time. What good to see old Sluggo. Now, let's take a look at the Frankie column. That was the multi-millionaire man, Dick Chimney. That was his column. What could little old Frankie do? The injury front. So I talk about a similar thing. The injuries. So he told you about the Jets' injuries, but I told you how they compare to other teams in the league. Which one's better, me or him? He makes millions of dollars a year. I do not. So I said, so far the Jets have held up well injury-wise to this point in the process. Same cannot be said for a team like the Giants, for example, who've lost 3 players already to season-ending Achilles tears, including anticipated contributors Gunnar Olszewski and Roy Robertson Harris. Only significant injury for the Jets is that of rookie tight end Kenyon Sadiq, who had surgery for a hernia/groin issue, according to head coach Aaron Glenn. He should be back for training camp, though, and this should not affect his season or career at all, per normal treatment protocols and return-to-play timetables for this kind of injury. See how I attribute my assertion to something? And I could be even better. I could provide you with a link to where I get that from, but I just left it at that. And then I say, here's a table of all the players who have officially gone on season-ending IR so far. These 2 from the Giants didn't go on IR. So no really major names here, but these are all the people who've gone on IR so far. Then I also talk about QB2 battle. So, and I wrote this before. Obviously, this came out this morning, as subscribers will tell you. So I wrote it yesterday. So I didn't, I wasn't taking material from Dick Chimney, but it was obvious QB2 battle would be a topic, as one might expect. And I came up with this term, the quarterback brain trust, the Quibbit. The Jets have a Quibbit now. We didn't used to have a Quibbit, but now we have a Quibbit, the quarterback brain trust. And I tell you down here what that means. The 3-man Quibbit consists of Frank Reich, Billy Moosegravy, and Darren Mougey, all of whom played quarterback in college and or the NFL. And basically just go through. It would be great if Klubnik won this job. Geno Shining. It should come as no surprise. So this is something that Dick Chimney did not write about. It should come as no surprise to readers of this blog or viewers of my YouTube channel, but Geno Smith has been impressing the members of the Jets beat, and notice I provide a link so you can verify that I am correct with how he has played thus far in OTAs. It's funny to me when non-football dorks like Zach the Hack Rosenblatt are amazed by what they are seeing on the practice field. Geno is just being Geno, but a lot of people chose not to pay attention to his Seattle resurgence. Shame on them. By the way, Zach was embedded with venereal Mike Vrabel for months when he was working with Cleveland for a puff piece, and then I linked to the puff piece, on him, and was colleagues with Dirty Diana Rossini, and I linked to the article as to why, and that explains all the stuff going on with Dirty Diana for years at The Athletic, and yet he has nothing to say about their disgusting stooping scandal. Curious. What did Zach know, and when did he know it? Something we should ask about. And, for people who are subscribed to this, sometimes check out the little captions underneath the pictures. It'll give you some more information. New Jersey-based Rossini was allegedly and reportedly sleeping with venereal Mike Vrabel and potentially others in the NFL in order to get scoops for her journalism, quote unquote. And D'Angelo Pons. This is something Chimney didn't write about, but I did. Coach Glenn said everything is proceeding as Jet fans would prefer, basically. Meaning, Pons is doing well in the classroom, learning at the NFL level, but now he has to apply the knowledge to the practice field. We'll know more, hopefully, next week when either the coaches or the Jets beat talk about it. Glowing reviews preferred, please. The way we should want it to play out is that Azareye'h Thomas wins an outside job and Pons wins the inside job, while still impressing outside. Then he can move outside next year when Brandon Stevens leaves. This way, Minkah Fitzpatrick can move back to the free safety position with most likely Dane Belton starting at strong safety. A Stevens, Thomas, Pons, Fitzy, Belton defensive backfield is one to feel good about, at least initially. We'll have to see how Thomas and Pons hold up once the games begin, of course. And there's old D'Angelo, the key to the D. The leadership, my God. From the initial press conferences alone, you can easily see why the regime made such a strong push to bring in guys like Demario Davis and Geno Smith, if only for their leadership qualities, something that was severely lacking last year. Davis is so impressive with the answers he provides, it's hard to believe. And I don't know if you guys saw his press conference, but man, I love Demario Davis. I'm just going to tell you right now. He will most definitely be excellent as a television personality whenever he retires. I know this is something that he is interested in. See below, probably written by AI, but still cool. Davis will almost certainly be given the Media Good Guy Award by the Jets beat this year. He's that good. And then this is a post from old Demario's LinkedIn. And he's talking about how... Oh, this is kind of small. Incredibly grateful. I'll just have to read this to you. Incredibly grateful for the opportunity to attend the NFL Broadcast Boot Camp. So Demario's gone to the Broadcast Boot Camp. That's how I know he's interested in becoming a talking head on TV. To put it in perspective, nearly 70% of NFL athletes currently working in television have come through this program. That's not by chance. That's intentional. That's a pipeline. That's legacy. This is how AI writes. So that's how you kind of know. And being in, not that it takes away from how awesome this is, but and being invited into that room is something I carry with great deep gratitude and responsibility. But for me, the bigger takeaway is this: the NFL platform is so much greater than the game itself. And then he goes on and talks about other things. But, listen, Geno's a good leader for the offense, and Demario's a great leader for the defense. So hopefully that leads to better outcomes. The final quarter, if you know someone who would benefit from reading an awesome sauce column about the Jets, let him know chemtrails exist. The more, the merrier. So there you go. That's the Frankie column on Sunday. I think mine's better than Chimney, but I don't know. Maybe you guys feel different. Maybe you feel different. Frankie adds context. Yeah, I try to. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's my writing background, my English literature background, but and I was initially a journalism major in school as well. But when you make an assertion, you have to provide evidence. You can't just say a bunch of stuff. Now, some of the stuff he does, like when he was bringing in the anonymous scouts, he's attributing it to the anonymous scout. Now, you're not supposed to use anonymous sources except in extreme cases. That's journalism ethics 101. But that ship has long sailed away. Come sail away, come sail away. nobody is doing that anymore. Everybody uses anonymous sources first as as their primary thing to justify assertions. You're supposed to use it last as a last resort. Sluggo. Sadiq played through the same injury last season. Why the wait? Well, he wanted to play, I guess. It wasn't major. And the Jets told him, hey, let's take care of this. Yeah, well, he fixed it now, so it's not going to be a problem, Sluggo, so nothing to worry about. South Dakota Jets, Frankie, I like your stuff, but why do you have so much confidence as you do in Glenn's coaching after what we've seen to date? Well, because I'm not a moron, number one. And number two, he's doing defensive play calling, which is what he was good at in Detroit. And I know what he did in Detroit because I watch film. That's why. He's going to be calling the plays on defense, which he didn't do last year. So that's number one. And number two, we have a much better roster. So a lot of what people think is coaching is just having really good players. As I told you last year, the roster was bad, right? So I'm the one who also has a track record of being right all these years. And so nobody ever gives me credit for that. They just want to believe, Jake Assman or something like that. Or these negativists. But I'm the one who told you last year that the roster that Mougey and Glenn constructed wasn't good. It's no good. We can't compete with this roster. It stinks. I went on and on about it. And a lot of people said, well, don't worry, the coaching. I was like, this coaching, Steve Wilkes is kind of unproven. He keeps getting fired all the time. And these other guys I'd never even heard of. Washington, Curry. I mean, Curry was a player. I knew him that way, but not good coaching reputations like Carl Dunbar and Ben Bowling. So, and Slowick we have on our staff now too. These are guys who have great coaching reputations, not to mention on the offensive side of the ball. But so the roster was bad and the team was bad. What did you expect Glenn to do? People's expectations were way too high last year. Mostly in part, I think, because of his Zach Rosenblatt articles, where he kept pumping up the coaching staff. And that elevated people's expectations. I was like, no, this team isn't good. Unless Justin Fields and the O-line are just out of this world, it's going to be rough. And guess what? It was rough. And then we traded Sauce and Quinnen. How did you think the roster was going to play when it was terrible to begin with? And then on top of that, you traded Michael Carter, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, and all this. Like the team wasn't good. The players sucked. Did Glenn make a few mistakes coaching? Yeah, everybody does that. It was his first year. He was a rookie. You didn't expect rookie mistakes? Why? I did. But what I'm confident in is that now we have a roster that can compete, as I've laid out multiple times already. Like I was right about the defense when I went on Gunny's show and everybody threw tomatoes at me. I was right. Last year when I told you the roster sucked and we're signing a bunch of bums at defensive tackle, this is not going to work. And we shouldn't have spent $12 million on Stevens. We should have spread that out among different players that we could have gotten. I was the one telling you that, and everybody, again, threw tomatoes at me and said, no, this coaching staff is going to elevate it because that's what Zach Rosenblatt said. And so now we have much better players. The roster is much better. We had a much better draft. We had a much better free agency period, including Tim Patrick was a nice little signing nobody's talking about. Not that he's going to be he's a nice role player, and we're probably going to pick up a few people in the 90-man roster cuts too, because we have the number 2 priority there, and so probably a few guys that could improve the edge of the roster, the end of the roster, will be let go. Maybe that's where our backup quarterback veteran comes in, or what have you, another defensive tackle, for example. But the way to win in the NFL is to have a lot of good players on your team and then have coaching that's not horrible, not Adam Gase level. Aaron Glenn is going to be calling the defense. He has a track record of when he has good players, you get good defenses. So there's defense. And then Frank Reich has a track record of if you give him a good quarterback, he gives you a top 10-ish offense. And Geno has been a good quarterback when you protected him. So if you protect Geno, then he will be a good quarterback. If you give Frank Reich a good quarterback, he will give you a top 10-ish scoring offense. So if you look at Aaron Glenn on defense, Frank Reich on offense, and then our special teams is going to be top 5 again with Chris Banjo at the helm, why wouldn't we be improved? I don't know. Watch more football, I would say. Sluggo says, thoughts on Third Reich not being fan of fullback use? I don't care. However, it doesn't matter to me if you use a fullback or not. You can use a fullback. You cannot use a fullback. You could use 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 4 tight ends. I don't care what you do. Score points. You know what I mean? I don't care if you use a fullback. But whatever you do, you better score points. I'm looking at one thing at an offense, really. I mean, we'll look at a lot of things, but the main thing is, are we scoring a lot of points? So if we're scoring points, that's all that matters. Whether you use a fullback, whether you don't use a fullback, whether you use 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 1 tight end, I don't care. I don't care how it gets done. If Geno Smith has 10 rushing touchdowns, I don't care. Get it done. Score points. I don't care who's scoring the points. I don't care if it's Garrett Wilson, A.D. Mitchell, Omar Cooper, Mason Taylor, Breece Hall. I don't care who is getting the stats. I could not care less. Score fucking points. That's the important thing. And I believe that we will. As long as that O-line, we really need to see. One thing I'm going to be looking forward to is I want to see improvement from 3 players in particular I got my eye on. Membu, Olu, and Joey Tips. Okay, those are our 3 long-time guys that we want to be long-time Jets. But we got to see some improvement. Membu, I want to see Membu go to that elite level. I want Membu to be like an All-Pro 2 type, with his PFF grade in the 80s, this sort of thing where he's just killing people. I think he can do it, and I want to see it. Olu needs to step it up also. He needs to improve. He needs to stop oversetting, and he needs to get his grade into the 70s. I want him to be a red chip player. No doubt, like Pro Bowl level type. And same thing with Joey Tippmann. I want Tippmann to be a Pro Bowl level guard. I want his PFF grade in the 70s, and I want him to be in contention to make the Pro Bowl every year. And I want him to make that step up this year, and then we can, pay him a long-term contract. And if we see that, and then, Dylan Parham, as long as he does what he did last year, above average, that's fine. I'd like to see Myers improve a little bit to maybe get an average grade. Can we get Josh Myers to average? That would be nice. But if we get that out of the offensive line, that would be fantastic. And that will allow Geno to do what he does, which I've been watching very closely as I'm grading out all of his performances in the years prior. We're up to 2024. As members know, we have exclusive videos about the quarterback grading system. I'm up to 2024, so if you're a member, you're going to get a video for 2024 here shortly. I got... how many more games? 4 more games to go. So I got to watch 4 more games on the All-22, then we'll grade them, and then you'll get a new video about the grades, and we'll do the film study, so you'll see how he performed in 2024. And then I'm going to do 2025, even though that was a down year for him, obviously, on the worst team in football, very bad. We'll grade him out for that year too, so we'll get to see what did he really, how much was really his fault, really, when you use the Frankie quarterback grading system, which is, of course, the greatest grading system on earth, I think. So there'll be an additional video, and these are going to be members only, and one of the reasons is because if I do film study, I cannot monetize those videos. So, but of course, every member video is not monetized because those people already pay, so to speak. So if you want to get film study, quarterback grading breakdowns, join the Inner Circle. It's only $2 a month. And you get all sorts of extra stuff, extra videos, lots of draft stuff. If you want to go back and look at draft guides, all these draft guides, I get them for you, and you get them for free, or as part of your membership, I should say. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's just $2 a month. You click the little join button, and you get all sorts of stuff. You get to hang out with some of the legends of the chat, like Phil Adams, like Braden, like Harry W. Some of these people are just legends. Chris Bradigan, been around. These people have been around Jet chat rooms from before, basically when there was no Jet chat rooms. They were there, ready, ready to go. And you could hang out with them because they're members of the inner circle and they hang around down there. You could learn about, I don't think there's anybody posting as much about iWow Fusillo, our AI chief, as I do. You may not care about our AI chief, but it's kind of interesting that we seem to be on the cutting edge of AI. Now, it's mostly on the business side, but still, we have a very, very, very accomplished and smart guy as head of our AI stuff that we're doing. And I post about that. Just fascinating stuff. Members only. Membership has its privileges around here. And so members of the inner circle, they get everything. They get it all. And so consider joining. Click the join button down below any video, and it's just $2 a month. Why not? It's the best $2 you're going to spend if you want inside information about the Jets. Now, Jeremy Fowler is reporting that A.J. Brown and Alvin Kamara and Brandon Ayuk are among the players to watch for this June 1st post-June 1st period when there are benefits to the team getting rid of people. I don't think any of these players really affect the Jets other than A.J. Brown going over to the Patriots. Kamara, Ayuk, I don't know. Those are strange situations. Kamara has said he wants to stay with the Saints. But that's what he said. I don't know. He's not at camp. Ayuk is a totally weird situation. I don't know what's going on with that. We'll see where he ends up. He might get released, but we're not sure. Okay, other than that, there doesn't seem to be any snooze of news. Snooze, you lose news. About the NFL right now. It's kind of a quiet period, so I think that's about it. So I'll put out last call for questions or comments. Let me know. Jojo, hopefully in 27 we add a high-level center. Yeah. I think we will. I think we've been, there have been other areas of emphasis and focus for us that are more important. They like Myers, just, But yeah, I think we'll see what we're able to do. Now, Tyler Linderbaum totally screwed up the center market. Nobody's paying a guy $27 million. But yeah, hopefully there's someone we like and we could grab in the draft. That'd be nice if we could get one of these young studs. Sluggo says, YouTube still doing Sunday Ticket? Oh, yeah. Yeah. YouTube will definitely have Sunday Ticket. Plans for shows this week, Phil Adams says. Well, we're probably not going to do a Friday night live. There not too many people showing up for that one. We'll come back with that as the season approaches. There will be OTAs this week. I forget if the media is going to be at any of them, but if they are, that means players will speak and coaches will speak, and then there'll be some news. So whatever the news is, I would say this. The news will dictate the videos this week unless I have some other idea. But I'm also working hard on these grades for Gino for each year, and then that will result in members-only videos. So the members have 2 videos coming. The one on 24 could be today or tomorrow, and then I'll have to start up on 25, and so that'll be another video, but it takes a while to get through these games. So there'll be videos for the members this week for sure. But for the regular subscribers. That'll be dictated by the news, so we'll see whatever news comes out. If there are trades, obviously, if the Jets acquire anyone of significance, we'll put out a video about it. And then we're probably not going to come back for Friday Night Live for a while, maybe until training camp, I would say. So maybe a month break from that. And then, of course, Coffee with Frankie on Sundays, that will remain. Show Mike, yeah, please do hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, consider joining the Inner Circle and consider signing up for the news, what's essentially a newsletter, but a column over at Chemtrails. It's a Substack now. You should probably support Substack anyway. Anything that you're interested in, there's independent media people. You know, a lot of people say they hate the media, the big media, but they refuse to support independent media. One place the independent media is Substack. So you sign up for Frankie's Substack, frankiefromflatbush.substack.com, but you can search around for, writings about whatever topics you're interested in. Doesn't have to be football. They have people writing about anything and everything over there. So you want to support independent media generally, Substack's the place to go. frankiefromflatbush.substack.com. Sluggo says, Bills take precedence over Jets. That's, you gotta go to YouTube or whoever has the Sunday package, but it looks like it's going to be YouTube again this year, and it's expensive. So your choices are move to where the Jets are in their market or Sunday package or what have you. All right, so that'll do it for this Sunday Coffee with Frankie. I'll see everybody this week. Hope you have a great week. Take care. So long.